Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we've processed a huge amount of reviews, community posts, all that stuff about what might just be the biggest RPG launch this year.
That's right. Obsidian Entertainment's The Outer Worlds 2.
Exactly.
And look, today we're cutting through, the usual corporate speak, the hype. Our job here is simple. Quickly synthesize what you really need to know about this massive sci-fi sequel. Did Obsidian actually deliver on that promise of, deep reactive player choice?
And crucially, is it just more of the same? Or something genuinely new in evolution?
That's the core question, yeah.
Okay, so let's set the scene real quick. We're talking The Outer Worlds 2, or TOW2. Obsidian's the developer. Xbox Game Studios published it.
And it just dropped October 29th, 2025.
Right. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PC. All the main platforms.
And the critic scores are looking pretty solid out of the gate.
Yeah, aggregate average, what is it, around 81 on OpenCritic?
And a bit higher, 85 on Metacritic.
So, pretty strong numbers.
Definitely puts it in that must-play zone for RPG fans for sure. But the actual consensus behind those numbers, it's kind of contradictory when you dig in.
How so?
Well, you see some really glowing, hyperbolic praise right next to critiques saying, it didn't take enough risks. And that split, that's what we really need to unpack today.
All right, let's start with the big picture then. What's the core feeling?
The main takeaway seems to be that, look, TOW2 is a confident sequel. It doesn't, totally reinvent the wheel from the first game.
Okay.
But it definitely expands and refines that formula. It's kind of doing that classic RPG sequel thing,
Give us more places to go, more stuff to find, make it run better.
Exactly. More planets, more loot, better tech.
And the praise for it has been pretty intense in some quarters.
Oh, yeah. Immediate and pretty huge. We've seen multiple critics flat out say it's bigger and better. In every way. Wow. Some sources even calling it Obsidian's best game since Fallout, New Vegas.
Okay, that's a statement. That comparison alone says a massive expectation.
Right. It really does. Huge shoes to fill.
And the scale seems to back that up. It's a big time commitment.
Definitely. We're talking main story path around 30 hours or so.
Which is decent.
Yeah. But it apparently expands way out, up to maybe 60 hours if you really dive into everything. All the side quests, exploring the new colony, Arcadia.
60 hours is substantial.
And that time investment, it seems, is helped by the writing.
The Obsidian hallmark.
Pretty much universally praised. The humor's back, the sharp corporate satire. Reviewers are saying it feels like they really nailed that masterful space-age RPG vibe this time.
Okay, but let's bring in that friction you mentioned, the contradictory stuff. If it's so masterful, why are some critics calling it a safe sequel?
Right.
Or even dismissing it as just more of the same.
Yeah.
Is refining the formula actually a way of, avoiding risk? Especially after some recent big RPGs tried new things and, didn't land perfectly.
That's a really sharp point. And yeah, I think that's part of it. When you iterate on something people already love, there's always going to be a segment wanting a total revolution, not just evolution.
Sure.
With TOW2, the feeling from those critics is, well, the technical side is great, the world's bigger, yes. But the actual structure, the corporate satire themes, the planet-hopping hub design, it feels very familiar if you played the first one.
Instantly recognizable.
Exactly. But, and this is key, for the fans who just wanted more depth, more narrative reaction, the mechanical improvements seem to totally make up for that familiarity.
So the core RPG mechanics are where the real action is.
That's what the consensus suggests. And those mechanics, well, that's the heart of this deep dive, really. Obsidian games, they live or die by player agency, right? And TOW2 apparently leans hard into that role-playing freedom, right from moment one.
Let's start out as, a member of the Earth Directorate? Like a space cop?
Basically, yeah. And the character creation, it's meant to feel significant. Like you're properly filling out an RPG character sheet again. Appearance, background, starting skills.
Right.
But here's a key change. They streamlined it. Removed the attributes from the first game.
Oh, like strength, dexterity, that kind of thing.
Gone. Instead, it focuses on just 12 core skills. Speech, lockpick, melee, the practical stuff.
Huh. That's the thinking there. Removing attributes feels like it could simplify things too much for hardcore RPG players, the min-maxers.
Well, the feedback we're seeing suggests it's actually a net positive.
Really?
It forces you into making more meaningful choices about your build, apparently. You can't just be good at everything.
Ah, okay. Less jack of all trades.
Exactly. Enhances replayability because your next character might focus on completely different skills. The depth isn't in juggling complex stats, it's in how the game reacts to the skills you do choose.
And how it reacts to your choices overall.
Precisely. Especially through the returning and expanded flaws system.
Right. Yeah, let's dig into that flaws system. That was a really interesting idea in the first game.
It's back, and seems even more central this time. It's optional, mind you.
Still optional, good.
Yeah. And it introduces these permanent negative effects, flaws, based on how you actually play the game.
But you get a perk point or XP in return, right? That's the trade-off.
Exactly. Bonus XP. The game is like constantly watching what you do.
Okay, give us some concrete examples. How does it work this time?
All right, so say you're someone who just mashes the button to skip through dialogue lines. You know, classic impatient RPG behavior.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
Right. Well, the game might offer you the flaw, foot, and mouth syndrome.
Okay, what did that do?
You get the XP boost, great. But now you get a timer on all future dialogue choices if you wait too long.
It just picks one for you.
Yep. Auto selects. Adds some real pressure to those conversations.
Wow, okay. That sounds stressful, but interesting.
It is. Makes that XP feel earned, doesn't it? Or take kleptomania, if you're constantly stealing stuff. The game might offer you that flaw. And if you take it, your character will just randomly steal nearby items sometimes, in settlements, without you telling them to.
Whoa. So you suddenly have to deal with the consequences. Guards coming after you because your character pocketed something.
Exactly. You have to manage your character's own bad habits.
But hold on. Isn't there a risk there? Like making the player feel punished just for, stealing, which is a core RPG mechanic in many games. How do critics feel about that trade-off? The potential frustration versus the XP?
That's a fair question. The feedback seems to lean positive, mostly because it is optional.
You choose to accept the flaw.
Right. You're essentially signing your own devil's bargain.
Yeah.
You opt into that specific kind of reactive gameplay. It makes the whole adventure feel incredibly personal.
Tailored to your screw-ups, basically.
Kind of, yeah. And this reactivity, it goes beyond just the flaws system. Critics mention seeing that this will be remembered, prompts pop up on screen, even in really early conversations.
Like with companions.
Yeah, like with a companion named Niles. It signals right away that the game is tracking your choices, even small ones, for impacts way down the line.
Okay, so the game's watching you, remembering your choices, giving you flaws. Does this all lead to a satisfying story? A world that feels worth making those choices in?
Well, let's talk about Arcadia, the new colony setting. The world design itself gets a lot of praise.
How is it structured? Open world?
Not quite fully open. It's more like large curated hub areas on different planets. I think like the first game, but bigger zones.
Okay.
And critics seem to really like this. They said exploring off the main path feels consistently rewarding, purposeful.
So less empty open world checklist stuff.
Seems like it. That focus on curated spaces helps. And reviewers also noted how the side quests and companion quests aren't just, random errands.
How so?
They apparently weave really nicely into the main objectives. They give you insight into the big factions, the organizations you're dealing with.
Helping you make those bigger decisions later on.
Exactly. It colors your perspective.
Sounds good. But I sense a but coming. What about the main narrative itself?
Yeah, this is where things get a bit more critical. If the individual parts are strong, the main story, the overarching plot, it seems to falter a little for some.
Okay. What's the central conflict?
It pits this authoritarian group, the Protectorate,
Right.
against this huge merged megacorp called Auntie's Choice, which is Auntie Cleo and Spacer's Choice joining forces.
Oh, wow. Okay. The corporate nightmare continues.
And there's a third faction, too, the Order, who are apparently determinists. So, interesting setup.
It sounds like classic Outer Worlds. Sets up a big planet-hopping journey, right?
It does, but the execution of that main storyline got called anticlimactic by some, lacking structural density.
And even. Too short. Didn't we say 30 hours main path?
Yeah, which isn't that short, but maybe felt short given the setup, or maybe the pacing felt off towards the end. If this is meant to be Obsidian's best since New Vegas, where does that weakness come from?
Good question.
The main culprit cited is actually the satire itself.
Ugh.
But people loved the humor.
They did, generally. But some critics felt it was maybe too obvious this time, a bit over the top.
Like hitting you over the head with the anti-corporate message.
Sort of. And the paradoxical effect is it actually lessens the stakes. If the factions just feel like, quote, comic book villains,
Right.
because the satire is so broad, then your big moral decisions feel less like genuinely tough choices. and more like, well, picking between slightly different flavors of cartoon bad guys.
I can see that. If the main story stumbles a bit on that complexity, do the companions help pull it together? Add that depth?
Well, let's talk companions. There are 6 of them, tied to different factions, fitting into typical combat roles, healers, ranged, melee, that sort of thing.
And you can have 2 with you. Standard RPG party setup.
Yep, 2 at a time. And they are definitely important mechanically.
How so?
Their personal quests are apparently essential. Finishing them gets you powerful mod kits that really define their combat role, like turning Tristan into a proper tank, or making Asa more of an assassin. Okay, so they matter for gameplay.
Big time. And the system is dynamic, too. Companions can actually leave your party.
Permanently.
Or even turn hostile, depending on the choices you make that affect them or their faction. So there's real friction there.
That sounds good. That adds stakes.
Yeah.
But that's mechanics. What about them as characters,
Yeah.
narratively?
Yeah. That's where the critiques come back in. We saw comments calling some companions forgettable or unconvincing. And a common wish was for more interaction on the ship. Beyond just the quick banter or tinkering at a workbench, more meaningful conversations to really flesh them out.
So, mechanically important, potentially reactive, but maybe not always hitting the mark as memorable characters themselves.
That seems to be the gist of it, yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk technical reality. Launching a massive RPG usually spells some trouble, right? Bugs, performance issues.
Usually, yeah. But the news here is actually pretty good overall. The technical state seems surprisingly smooth.
Oh, that's a huge plus.
It really is. And core mechanics like combat, specifically the gunplay, critics say it's much tighter, feels more contemporary than the first game.
Good. That was a weak point for some in TOW1.
Agreed. And performance. Excellent, by most accounts. Smooth 60 frames per second was specifically mentioned multiple times for consoles, like the PS5 Pro.
That's great to hear. Stable is good, but no RPG launches perfectly clean, does it? What are the little annoying things people are running into?
Oh, the usual RPG jank, unfortunately. Nothing seems catastrophic, but standard stuff.
Like what?
Inventory UI issues were mentioned, sometimes needing to reload a save file to get a quest to trigger properly.
Classic.
And companion glitches. There was one specific kind of funny mention of Tristan, the tank companion.
Yeah.
Spawning under the floor of the ship sometimes. Annoying, but fixable.
Right. Needs a patch, but doesn't break the game. Shows the complexity, though.
Absolutely. Launching something this big is tough.
Okay, so that technical glitch with Tristan is annoying? Sure. But it kind of pales next to the meta glitch this game hit right at announcement, doesn't it?
Oh, boy. Yeah. The price tag.
It's hard not to see the irony, right? A game that's all about anti-corporate satire getting absolutely slammed right away because it was initially announced with an $80 price tag.
It was. Peak irony, wasn't it? The community discussion around that was intense.
I bet.
The backlash was huge precisely because the game's themes are all about railing against corporate greed.
So what happened? What are the facts there?
The impartial facts are the price did get lowered. It came down to $70 before launch.
Okay, $70 is now the standard, but still high for some.
Right. And it's also important to note, Obsidian's directors actually came out pretty quickly and said, look, we don't set the prices.
The publisher decision.
Yeah.
Xbox Game Studio.
Exactly. They even noted the sort of dark humor in their anti-corporate game being subject to those corporate pricing decisions.
Yeah, you almost have to laugh.
But for a lot of players, even that $70 is still a barrier. We saw tons of comments saying people plan to wait for a sale.
Or just play it on Game Pass, right? Since it's an Xbox first-party title.
Absolutely. Game Pass changes that whole calculation for Xbox and PC players, but it definitely frames the whole launch.
Yeah, the quality might be there, but that initial pricing fumble put this, like you said, beloved anti-corporate game right in the crosshairs of a debate about corporate pricing. Kind of overshadowed some of the praise, maybe.
Definitely seems like it did, yeah. It became part of the story.
Okay, so given everything we've pulled from the reviews, the community buzz,
Yeah.
what's the final picture of The Outer Worlds 2?
I think the picture is pretty clear now. It is undoubtedly a deep, highly reactive RPG. It really seems to deliver that personalized adventure.
Even if the main story is maybe just... Okay.
Yeah, while that central narrative gets called serviceable, maybe a bit too broad with its satire for some, the game truly seems to excel in its core RPG mechanics.
The refined combo.
Right, the tighter gunplay, and especially that innovative choice and consequence stuff driven by the flaws system. It really sounds like it validates Obsidian's reputation for building worlds that genuinely react to how you play.
Okay. So, wrapping this up, what does all this mean for you, the player, listening right now?
Well, the Outer Worlds 2, it gives you unique dialogue options, unique quest paths, based not just on the skills you pick, but on those permanent flaws you might choose to take on.
Things like gambler, witty, maybe even consumerism, reflecting the theme.
Exactly. So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. If you were heading out to try and save the colony of Arcadia, which personal character flaw, which negative trait would you be willing to risk taking on permanently in exchange for that powerful advantage, that extra edge?
Think about that trade-off, because it sounds like in this game, maybe more than most, your character's weaknesses truly define their strengths.